The more successful a person becomes, the smaller their circle of friends tends to be. Not because they are arrogant or distant, but because they deeply understand the value of time, inner peace, and meaningful relationships. After going through enough challenges, enough collisions with life, enough success and failure, they no longer casually call everyone a friend. Success brings many things: money, status, admiration, but it also comes with the risk of being used, being approached by people with hidden agendas. Successful people gradually become more sensitive in reading others, listening between the lines, and sensing the intentions behind seemingly friendly actions. They don't need a crowd around them. They only need a few people who are genuinely sincere, share the same values, and can be trusted completely. Success changes a person, their environment, their mindset, their lifestyle, and as a result, true resonance becomes rarer. Superficial conversations no longer feel fulfilling. Shallow and artificial relationships only drain energy and time. That is why they slowly turn inward, focusing on their work, their purpose, and their loved ones, along with the few rare friends they know they can share both joy and sorrow with, without fear of judgment or exploitation. A true friend to them doesn't need to be successful, wealthy, or famous. A true friend is someone who doesn't come for the spotlight, but stays even when things become difficult. That's why, in the eyes of a successful person, the title friend is not easily given. They have learned an important lesson. Not everyone who comes into your life deserves to stay. And once a certain level of maturity is reached, there is no longer a need to explain. Sincerity alone is enough. That is why successful people are very selective about friendships, not because they are picky, but because they respect themselves. And respecting oneself is also a way of respecting relationships that truly deserve to exist. Welcome to the Quiet Mind. You don't need to focus too hard. Just relax, find a quiet place, and let's begin. Success and maturity make people have fewer friends, not because of arrogance, but because of awareness. When we are young, we often believe that having many friends is a sign of a rich life. We know people everywhere, from familiar cafes to noisy gatherings, from old classmates to work connections. But at a certain point in life, usually after experiencing both glory and bitterness, we suddenly realize this: the higher and steeper the path upward, the fewer people walk alongside us. Not because we turn our backs on the world, but because we awaken. After years of living in a society driven by interests, expectations, and masks, we learn to value silence over unnecessary noise. We learn to choose carefully instead of grasping for connections. And we understand that some relationships, if kept, will only pull us backward. There is a harsh truth that isn't easy to face. Most of the people around us in our youth were never truly friends. They were temporary allies, drinking buddies, convenient companions, people who were there when it was easy. But when we become busy chasing bigger dreams, they begin to fade away. Not because we changed, but because the relationship was never deep to begin with. When we don't yet understand ourselves, we may fear loneliness when the phone doesn't ring and messages don't arrive. But as we live longer, we realize that the scariest thing isn't loneliness. It's feeling lost in a crowd that doesn't understand you. If success comes, it teaches an expensive lesson. It's not just the spotlight or applause, but also fake praise, disguised jealousy, and handshakes without warmth. When you start to have a voice, when you begin to influence a group, a society, or even an industry, you will notice this clearly. People no longer treat you as a human being, but as a role, a title, a stepping stone, or a target. And you must stay awake. You can't remain naive like you were in your teens. You can't sit at every table just because you once laughed together. That isn't arrogance. It's self-protection, a way to keep your mind healthy in a chaotic world. Maturity, therefore, is a process of purification, not only of habits and lifestyles, but of people. Some who were once soulmates should now remain memories. Some who once walked with you no longer share the same direction. The more we understand life, the more we realize that not everyone is capable of being happy for someone else's success. Some people stay only as long as you don't surpass them. And when you begin to rise beyond old limits, The hands that once encouraged you may quietly fall away. Some may even try to pull you down, just to prove that you are no different from them. And so you choose to leave quietly, without blame, without anger, because you've lived long enough to understand that not everyone deserves a place in the next chapter of your journey. Over time, you come to value solitude, not because it's comfortable, but because it's real. In the silence of evenings without plans, in holidays without small talk messages, you reconnect with yourself. And when you no longer need anyone to validate your worth, you realize that just a few people who truly understand you are enough. One who listens without judgment, one who walks with you without selfish motives, and one who dares to tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. Such people are rare, and they are treasures. Recognizing them among the crowd requires time and awareness. Awareness doesn't make us cold, it makes us clear. It doesn't distance us from people, it helps us see real distance. It doesn't make us hate others, it helps us choose wisely so we don't suffer from broken promises, unmet expectations, and meaningless meetings. Awareness is understanding that friend is not a title for everyone. It is a relationship that must be nurtured with trust, understanding, and shared direction. Without all three, it may hurt less to simply call each other acquaintances. Some ask, isn't it sad that the more successful you become, the fewer friends you have? This question can't be answered quickly. It must be lived. But if forced to answer, the response would be, yes, it's sad, but it's a beautiful sadness, one that deepens you, helps you understand life, and reminds you that what truly matters isn't a long friend list, but a light heart free from toxic connections. In the end, not everyone who walks with you will reach the finish line. The one who stays is often the quietest, the most unnoticed, and the most sincere. And they are the ones truly worthy of being called a friend. Success brings light, but also danger. It is a beautiful gift, but never a free one. It demands sacrifices, not just time and effort, but years of giving everything you have, even peace of mind, within relationships that once felt close. When you step out of the shadows, when the spotlight reaches your name, when your business card gains powerful titles, you are no longer just yourself in others' eyes. You become an opportunity. And that's when real danger begins. Successful people receive admiration, but also calculation. People smile more, call more, act friendlier. Not always out of affection, but to step into the light you stand in. Some collaborations sound spontaneous but are carefully arranged. Some old friends suddenly want to reconnect, sometimes to borrow your name, your credibility, your access. If you're naive, you won't realize it until you're drained. Many people who once carried entire teams, who created real value, were destroyed by those they called friends, used as scapegoats, forced to carry blame, or lost everything because they trusted the wrong person. The deepest pain isn't losing possessions. It's losing trust, the ability to believe in people again. Success exposes you to scrutiny, expectation, and exploitation. Some people don't approach you to understand you, but to use you. They don't care how many nights you stayed awake, what you sacrificed to climb where you are. They only see what you can give them: an introduction, an opportunity, a signature, a bit of light to guide their way. They don't seek you for who you are, but for the shadow you cast. And so, mature people learn to slow down and trust. They listen not only with ears, but with intuition and reason. They hear praise, but keep doubt, not because they are suspicious, but because life taught them that sweet words can lull awareness to sleep. Some hands are extended not to lift you up, but to bind you. Without clarity, you become a pawn on someone else's board. That is why successful people often withdraw, not out of arrogance, but understanding. Not everyone needs to know everything about you. The less you share, the fewer vulnerabilities you expose. In a world where hearts are hard to read, the wise don't lay their hearts on the table for flattery. They choose relationships like weapons, carefully, because letting someone into your inner circle grants access to your weaknesses, your secrets, your survival. Some say success means expanding networks. It sounds right, but reality is the opposite. Relationships matter, But quality matters more. The experienced don't need hundreds of acquaintances, just a few they can trust with their backs on the battlefield. They would rather make hard decisions alone than sit in a room full of people unsure who might stab them. True success doesn't require applause. It requires a solid shield and loyal companions. I once believed in beautiful mutual support until those I helped turned away in hardship. I once thought I'd never become cold until I was hurt most by those I called family. So I learned distance, not out of resentment, but understanding. That light only matters if your mind remains clear. No one can protect you better than yourself. Sometimes maintaining a few real relationships is harder than holding an empire. Success doesn't make people worse. It simply removes masks faster. It reveals hearts, truths, and relationships held together only by loyalty. Once you've seen it all, you choose a different life. Fewer connections, but deeper ones. Fewer promises, but stronger integrity. Fewer friends, but more real. Because spotlight fades, fame passes. But what remains is who stays when you have nothing left to give. And if someone remains not because of who you are or what you have, they are worth keeping. Others can follow different lights. You owe no one anything. Trust should be given sparingly, but to the right people. Maturity filters friendships. One day you grow tired of forced laughter, shallow handshakes, meaningless meetings. Not because you're difficult, but because you know time is life's rarest currency. Maturity is an age. It's learning to step away from crowds you once needed. Quantity means nothing. When young, we fear being left out, so we try to belong. Later, we realize many connections were burdens. Experienced people don't hate others. They quietly close doors. Some friendships expire without drama. Silence replaces effort. You realize sitting alone with someone who understands your silence is worth more than 100 fleeting joys. You don't need praise, you need empathy. Not likes, but sincere messages on hard days. And that's why you start saying no. No to noise, no to intrusion, no to relationships just for show. Maturity teaches that not everyone deserves to walk to the end with you. Some appear to teach lessons, some leave to teach expectations. Some stay, but outside your inner world. Your circle becomes smaller but purer. A world without competition, without proving, only sincere presence. Someone once asked me if it's lonely. I smiled. Loneliness isn't about numbers. It's about being yourself. I'd rather be alone with truth than lost in pretense. Some nights are quiet and peaceful because I know a few would still come when it matters. Maturity doesn't make you hate people. It helps you understand yourself. And when you do, you know what drains you, what hurts you, what to keep and what to let go. Shallow talk, empty praise, they were never connection, just energy consumption. You choose solitude not because no one wants you, but because you no longer need many. If someone leaves because you stop chasing, be glad. They never intended to stay. You deserve those who stay without being asked. And in the end, maturity is loving yourself enough not to be drained by what doesn't deserve you. In a noisy world, awareness becomes a privilege, and loneliness, at times, a peace worth choosing. Today's podcast ends here. I hope you've had moments of true calm. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, and see you next time.